Welcome to Growing Up, a podcast about children and young people. These podcasts were written and produced in association with the Living Assessments Project and funded by the Wellcome Trust.
This is the Spotlight series. I am Monique, your host from the University of Kent, and in this series my guests share their childhood memories from the UK and elsewhere in the world, from World War II to the 21st century, all true life stories, all unique reflections of their era. In this episode we're travelling to Khartoum, back to Huda's childhood in the 60s and 70s, having many happy times with all her cousins, holidays on the Nile, but also realizing that girls were not equal to boys and, with Granddad's help, learning to become a strong and independent woman.
I was born in South Sudan. I'm 62, so my childhood was in the 60s. I grew up in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. Both my parents were educated. My dad was an academic. He was lead scientist in his field, which was veterinary science. He was very keen for all of us, me and my sisters, my brothers, to have good education, at least to a university level. Mom was educated, and she was also keen for, especially for us girls, to have good education. At the time in Sudan, society was very much male dominated, and I realized from a very early age that I was not equal to a boy. I remember when my mom had my brother, after 3 girls, I remember the happiness, the joy, and it was obvious. Not only were my parents were mom and dad over the moon, but the whole family was very, very happy. Grandparents, uncles, aunties. I was 10 at the time, and I still remember asking myself, what's wrong with having only girls? Having said that, Dad always encouraged us to have a good education, to go to work, do well in school, and he always wanted us to be independent and have secure futures. He was very overprotective with us girls, so we never visited friends, we never visited neighbors. Mom, though, brought us in a very non-traditional way. For example, she wasn't keen on teaching me or my sisters how to cook or how to learn about different housework tasks, even though she was a great cook and very talented. She was a very talented lady. But I think she wanted us to study, to have jobs, careers, and to be different to her. My happiest memories of my childhood were spending weekends, which was Friday at the time, it's the only day off of the week, and we used to spend Fridays at my grandparents'. Those days were big gatherings. Dad had 7 brothers and 2 sisters. They would be all there, all the family would be there, all the children. And my grandmother was a unique lady. She was different in many ways to women her age at that time. So I remembered her playing cards with her son, preparing jobs for all the grandchildren. So some would be helping her with cooking, others will be cleaning the hen house, collecting eggs, watering her plants, her vegetables. And the day always end with a birthday celebration. There was 40 plus grandkids, so they always a birthday. I still remember Granddad's sat us all in a circle at the end of the day in front of him, and then he will announce the birthday girl or boy, hand them an envelope with money, and then we all have goodie bags, which was still exciting for me talking about it now. My granddad, he was a head teacher, and he's known to be a very strict professional head teacher. But I only know him as a loving, kind, family man with a good sense of humor. My other happiest memories are also being with my mom's family. I used to spend most of my summer holidays with my mom's family. My mom's dad was a second dad to me. He taught me a lot of things about life. He was very keen and passionate about empowering women. So from very early age, he would chat to me about things, and I really enjoyed that. And he was a math teacher, so he's the reason I liked math. Math always been my favorite subject in school. As a child, I felt granddad was the only person who really listened to me. My mom's mom was a very strong, wise lady, and she likes crafts, where she made my school bags. Every year I would have a beautiful bag. She either knitted or crocheted, and it was very beautiful. And I was so proud of my bag at school all the time. Looking back at my childhood now, I think there were times where things could have been done differently to make me a lot happier. But I totally understand the pressure both my parents were from society, how traditions shape their way of thinking and how they perceive things, and ultimately led them to do things they might have not necessarily wanted to do.
Thank you, Huda. That's really, really interesting. That's so interesting that I have loads of questions for you. A basic one to start with. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have two brothers and two sisters. I'm the eldest.
What was the relationship between all of you, your siblings? Did you make the rules? How did that work out? Did you play together, all of you?
I played with my sisters a lot, but I didn't make the rules. My second sister was a boss. I still remember her making me cry a lot because she makes the rule, and if you don't follow the rules, then you are in trouble. So, but we did play like girls at the time, with dolls, cooking and stuff. But we were very close. My eldest brother is 10 years younger than me, so we are not that close.
Where did you usually play? You've mentioned that you were brought up in a way where you didn't go out so much. But I wonder, was there a playground or a fun fair? What was there in Khartoum?
There wasn't many playgrounds, but we've been raised up in like a farmhouse because of my dad's job, and we did have a huge garden, and that's where we played most. But dad make like a little playground with a couple of basic things which we used to play with. But most of the time we were in the house playing with our dolls. I also remember dad used to travel a lot, and he bring us toys all the time. And yeah, that's how we you play most of the time, but there wasn't many playgrounds at the time.
In that case, I guess you would have met your friends at school. Can you tell me about your school? What is your oldest memory of school?
My first memory of school is upset. We went to a school which is not far from the house, but I wanted to go to another school where we can take the bus and travel far. But dad thinks it's all schools and it's just going to be hassle for all of us. So why don't you go to the nearest school? So I started school not very happy, but soon I made friend, and my sister we went to the same school. So we stick together, and I was happy because if I'd been bullied or anything happens, then I've got my sister there.
Good point. Was it a mixed school or was it girls only?
No, it was girls only school. The boys' school is next door, but we never see the boys because even break time are in different times to make sure that we don't see the boys or they see us.
In your school, did you witness or experience any behavior that could be categorized as bullying?
Yes, to some extent. I used to be very skinny, and I did have comments about that, and I still remember that I wasn't happy about things. There was bullying, but it wasn't bad. I mean, you told the teacher, and they tell them off, and they just get scared, and it will never happen again.
You said you love maths. Was it already your favorite subject at school?
Yes, it was. was from, as I said, I used to go to Granddad to help me with my homework, and I think his way of teaching makes me love math. So I think from primary school until my GCSEs, math is my favorite subject. So I think on GCSE I've got 94 or 96, I can't remember, but something like that.
Did you do sports at school, and what were the facilities like?
In primary school, it was very basic, so we did things like skipping and running around and things like that. So there's not sort of a formal PE or anything like that. In secondary school, then we started to do things, and I remember I was playing handball and tennis and things like that. I wasn't a sport person, and I used to hate it.
At your school, were you aware of groups amongst pupils by affinity, like, I don't know, the very studious ones, the sporty ones? And were you part of one of these groups?
Not really. I think we just get with, because we used to, the girls who come from the same area, and we used to stick together, but no, we mix with everybody.
And were there any disabled children in your school?
No, no, I can't remember of any disabled child. Unfortunately, at the time in Sudan, disabled kids will be kept in homes, and they'll never go out or join school or anything like that, which was a shame, but that's how it used to be. It's changing now.
And if you could remember your school as a smell, what would it be?
A garden full of roses. That's how happy I was in school.
Well, that's lovely. I can see the symbolic aspect there. But Huda, what did your school really smell of?
I would say my school really smells of earth and dust. It was a basic school, so we have a yard and the classrooms just around the yard. So it really does smell of dust and earth.
When you were a young teenager, did you have a best friend?
I think I would say my best friends when I was a teenager were my cousins because of the connection we had in the weekends and the thing we did together. We end up being friends, and we still are.
So, say when you were 14, 15, what did you do with your cousins?
When we get to that age, then we start the day with when we go see them or they come to see us, or on Fridays, it's a normal helping the kitchen, and then we do normal girls thing, makeup and doing our hairs.
And you mentioned earlier that you would be given money for birthdays as a little gift. Did you get also pocket money?
Yes, we did have pocket money, and I have not a very nice experience because I used to have a nice box to keep my money, and it got stolen, and it broke my heart. I must be about 12 or 13 because we went out, came home, and we had a burial, and my box is gone. It was only had about 10, 15 pounds at the time, but I was so upset about it.
Oh, yes, I can imagine this being upsetting on top of the whole burglary. But then, when it wasn't stolen, what did you do with your money? What did you go and buy?
Usually I buy sweets and chocolates.
Did you used to go on holiday with your family?
Yes, my parents came from a place which is about 2 hours away from the city where we used to live, from Khartoum. So we used to go, not every summer, but maybe every other summer. It was a small place by the White Nile, which joined the Blue Nile in Khartoum to create River Nile. So we go for maybe a few weeks, 3, 4 weeks, and we loved it. We stay in a big house with all our cousins, and it was lovely. We go to the sea in the morning, to the river in the morning. I remember Granddad would take us to buy fish. He'd buy fish, and then we'd be there around him looking at the scenes. And yeah, it was a lovely little place.
Did you used to swim in the Nile?
No, we didn't.
Is that because it wouldn't have been authorized, or is it because you can't swim?
One, I can't swim, and I think even if I can, as a girl, it's not allowed. But I think for our family, even boys are not allowed because dad is worried about the hygiene and whoever's in the sea. So we are not even allowed to put our feet in the water.
Now let's talk about food and eating. As a family, did you have most of your meals together?
Yes, we would have all our meals together, and it's like compulsory to have the meal with everybody sit at the table and have the meal on the table and have the meal together. And I used to hate it because I used to be very picky and I didn't like, as I said earlier, I was very skinny and I didn't like to be, everybody seeing what I eat. But yeah, it was quite an important part of the day to all of us sit together and have our meals.
What were the foods you disliked?
I think I dislike the traditional food. So I always wanted something, a burger or something different, but I dislike the traditional food. But generally speaking, I didn't have big appetite.
Then what was your favorite treat?
Ice cream.
Nothing wrong with that. What do you remember about going to see the doctors when you were a child?
I had not very nice experience when I was about 9 or 8. I had measles, and at the time there's no vaccine for measles, so I had it really bad. And I remember being to the doctor at the time, and I nearly died. It was really not nice experience.
Were you scared of the doctor?
Not really. My dad used to take us to the same doctor, and he was very nice. He always offered up a lollipop as soon as you get into his room. So I don't know if I like him or hate him, but I like the lollipop.
So you liked a bribe. Did you have to go to the school nurse if you had a problem at school?
There wasn't a school nurse. There's like a small clinic for 2 or 3 schools in the area. So if someone is not well, then they'll be taken to that clinic. I've never been to.
Did you ever have to go to hospital as a child?
No.
In your childhood, has there been a negative event or an accident, a tragedy of some sort that hugely impacted on your life or your family life?
Not a huge thing, but I just think when I was ill with measles, it was a big thing for me, and it happens when we were on holiday, and so it was like the holiday's been ruined for everybody, and they have to take me back to the city. So that was a major thing I have as a child.
Did you recover fully from measles?
Yes, I did, but it took me quite a long time, but I did.
When you were upset or worried, who did you go to for support? Earlier you mentioned your granddad, but I was wondering on a daily basis.
It was always granddad. Even on a daily basis. I remember calling him. We used to have like a landline, so I called granddad crying, and he was very good. I think he's the first person to teach me how to deal with my emotions. So I always say it's okay to cry. Just finish your cries, and you can tell me what happens to make you so upset. And that was such a relief. Sometimes I talk to my mom, but as I said earlier, I think granddad was really listening to me.
Why didn't you get the impression that your mother wasn't listening to you as much?
I think because granddad has always gave me that especially, feeling that I'm special. He always sit me down and speak to me. Mom will be busy with other things and she will say something while she's, cooking or doing something else. So I didn't feel like she was actually listening to me. I'm sure she was, but I don't know why I just always went to granddad because he gave me that sort of special treatment, if you like.
Is there an object from your childhood that holds a particular emotional importance to you, even if you don't have it anymore?
Yes, I have a doll which is similar to Barbie, but it was a big doll which dad got me from, I can't remember if it's the UK or somewhere else, but it's the first time I saw blonde hair and blue eyes. And it's fascinating to I saw it on TV, but it's the first time I saw it in real time, and I love that doll.
Do you still have it?
No, unfortunately not.
Can you see today the influence your childhood experiences have had on the person you are now?
Yes, I do. I think since I was very young, I realized that there's a difference between boys and girls in our society, and that's something which really upsetted me as a child. And I, I just said to myself, I'm going to prove to everybody, maybe I'm not a boy, but I'll be a strong woman. And I think that was shaped my life now. I'm really into empowering women, and even until today, I just wanted to. I'm really into that.
Did you have this discussion with your parents?
I think at times it's not. It's how the society is like. So it's not something that you can discuss. I think even though I'm saying that, I'm still one of the lucky people because there are girls who, even if they're allowed to study, they're not allowed to go to work, or they can only do certain professions, teaching and nursing. But that wasn't, it was open-minded in that way. But I remember saying to my daddy, why can't I go and visit my friend or spend the night at my friend's house? And he will try to justify it, but he never managed to convince me.
Is there a particular smell, taste of food that takes you back in time?
Imperial soap. Every time I smell it, it just take me straight back to my childhood because that's the soap we used to have at home all the time.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Lastly, Huda, what advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
I think I would say to her, just fight to be a good girl, fight to be, equal to boys, but you can be even better than boys. Don't let that upset you.
Super. I love finishing on this girl power sentence. Thank you so much, Huda, for your time, for talking to us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
If you've enjoyed this episode, follow us on Twitter at living_assess. To find out more, search online for the Living Assessments Project.